Back to our coverage on the unidentified object shot down over North America. We are joined now by the founder and executive director of the National Security Institute. He's Jamil Jaffer. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Mitch.
So the big question that everyone's asking, is it aliens?
Well, I think it's pretty clear now, Mitch, that it's definitely not aliens, even though the commander of NORAD said that he hadn't excluded any possibilities when asked if it might be an alien or extraterrestrial aircraft. It's clear now that these are surveillance aircraft. We don't know exactly from what nation, but NORAD's statement that came out late yesterday indicated that the most recent third object was shot down over Lake Huron was because it was believed to be engaged in surveillance activities. So that's the latest we know. We don't know exactly from who or why these aircraft are here, why the government has decided to take aggressive action at this point, which is probably the right thing to do. But it does appear that they believe these aircraft were conducting surveillance over sensitive military sites over the last few days and probably for longer.
Okay, so not aliens. I got you. But seriously, what is going on, though? Because we never were aware, at least as the American public, of spy balloons or other objects that were up in the sky until this Chinese balloon sort of showed up over Montana. Now we've shot down, along with Canada, 4 in just the past week. So what is going on? Are we being surveilled more than ever? Has there been a recalibration of radar? Should we expect more of this activity?
Well, Mitch, it's interesting. Not only were we, the American public, not aware, but it appears the U.S. government was not as aware as it perhaps should have been. What it appears is going on here is that after the Chinese spy balloon was detected earlier this month and shot down over South Carolina on February 4th, the FAA and NORAD in particular has changed its filtering for its radars, which are normally designed to filter out smaller and perhaps slow-moving objects to really focus on key targets of interest. In order to identify more of these objects, as a result of this change in our filtering, they've identified more objects, they've scrambled more jets, ultimately determining that some of these were there inappropriately and perhaps conducting surveillance activities. And ultimately, a decision was made twice by President Biden to shoot down these new unidentified objects, and once by Prime Minister Trudeau, cooperating with NORAD, and shot down ultimately by an American F-22 Raptor on Saturday.
And let me ask you this. China claimed that first spy balloon. They said it was hobbyist of some sort, just lost control of their balloon. Sure. Let me ask you, though, are they responsible for the other 3? And if not them, who else would they belong to?
It's a great question, Mitch. I think the government hasn't yet told us who they believe is responsible for these balloons. I think China is a likely suspect when it comes to who might be responsible. I should say, for these new unidentified objects. We don't know that they're balloons, although Senator Schumer did use the word balloons to describe these latest objects. The other possibility is Russia. They have capabilities in this space as well. Outside chance, North Korea or Iran, but probably not likely. Almost certainly China or Russia engaged in surveillance activities. And by the way, it looks like they've successfully gotten away with it. The other interesting thing, Mitch, is that there are aviation analysts online, in particular Tyler Rogoway, who suggested that what's actually going on here is this is an attempt to test our defenses so that when we light these things up with our radars and the like, they can determine the effectiveness and capabilities of those systems. If that is in fact the case, this has been a pretty successful mission for these small objects that have ultimately been shot down.
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing surveillance and we haven't noticed them for weeks or months on end, that's pretty bad for us. But I am curious, too, about the Biden administration's response to these things. Obviously, they let one of them drift all the way across the country before shooting it down over open waters. But there was a recent one that was shot down over eastern Alaska, so pretty much as soon as it entered American airspace. The one that was shot down yesterday was shot down over Lake Huron. And so the Biden administration seems to not be playing any more games. They're not going to let these things drift across the country anymore.
Well, I think that much is clear, and it's clear that their criteria for when to take these aircraft down and the potential for any issues on the ground has changed dramatically just in the last week. They obviously let the very large Chinese spy balloon that was first detected over Montana make it all the way across the eastern United States over the South Carolina coast before it was shot down. Now, as you point out correctly, we've seen 3 shoot downs, one over Alaska, one over the Yukon territories, and ultimately this latest one over Lake Huron. It's worth noting, Mitch, that the one that we just shot down on Sunday was first detected Saturday. They did scramble fighter jets over Montana, but were unable to find it and ultimately determined it might have been a radar anomaly. Now they're saying that, in fact, it was still there. They just couldn't find it, and then ultimately found it again on Sunday and took it down.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation in your cable lineup. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-based, unbiased coverage.